Hey, it's Erica here, and I've got something super exciting to share with you. If you're in the world of early childhood education, you cannot miss the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference. And I'm not just saying that. Trust me, this is where the magic happens. Over the course of 3 days, we're all about learning, connecting, and reigniting that spark that brought you into the field in the first place. And let me tell you, this conference is packed with goodness. Day one is all about leadership. We've got 5 incredible presenters who will walk you through the business side of running your program. Plus, it's more intimate, a retreat-style day with only 80 administrators, so you'll get tons of face time and an opportunity to connect. And to close out the day, a fun, hilarious comedy show and dinner with Jay Yoder from the Board Teacher Comedy Tour. He graces the stages all over the country. Day 2 is a day full-blown conference with 50 vendors, 14 amazing speakers, plus 2, not 1, but 2 keynote addresses that will leave your head full of fresh ideas. Oh, and did I mention, you can also get a free professional headshot. You can even hop on an ECE podcast and share your expertise with the world. So much fun packed into one day. And then day 3, you get to relax. We're heading over to Urban Sweat, where you can treat yourself however you want. Whether you want to unwind in a Himalayan salt cave, you want to get into a yoga class, or just enjoy a relaxing massage, you will leave totally recharged. You can book your services directly with Rafa and pick exactly what you need. So are you in? Don't miss out 3 days of empowerment, inspiration, and just pure connection with your ECE community. I can't wait to see you there, so let's do this. Links below. See you soon. Imagine a world where every child feels confident, valued, and ready to take on any challenge. In today's episode, we're unlocking the secrets to help kids discover their unique strengths, build unshakable self-esteem, and make positive impact in the world around them. Whether you're a parent, an educator, a mentor, you'll walk away with practical tips and inspiring stories that will help children in your life grow to be their best selves. So don't miss a chance to be part of shaping their future. Today, you are tuned in to the Child Care Directors Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sicosio, and we are joined with our guest, Scott, and I'm probably going to not say this name right, Jablonski? Jablonski. Sorry. All right, awesome. Scott is a teacher. He's an author and a songwriter whose work is aimed at helping children become their best versions. Seeing the uniqueness and potential in every child, he is passionate about creating content that builds character, promotes positive habits, inspiring our youth to make a difference in the world. He works designs to share with parents, grandparents, child caregivers, guardians, anybody who works with kids to make them move on a positive path. Scott lives right here in Rhode Island, just like me, with his wife, 2 sons, and their wonderful dog named Sammy. When he's not creating education, entertainment for kids, he enjoys hiking, running in the wooded trails, travel, landscaping, exercise, reading, and eating chocolate. So we have those things in common. Scott is 6 feet, 5 inches tall. He is very, very tall. Students always want to know his height, and I'm sure that, I'm only 5'1", just barely. I dwarf in comparisons in size. He loves making up songs, and he has been singing since the age of 8. He plays guitar, bass, and sings. He travels around all across the country. He's also been to Ireland, England, Scotland, Belgium, Italy, and France. I'm just tired even reading his bio, and if that's not enough, he also played college basketball. He has run trail races. He's been teaching in classrooms for almost 30 years. He's coached basketball for youth, soccer, and baseball, and also an award-winning author. So welcome to the show, Scott.
Wow. There you go. That was a lot. That was a mouthful, Erica. Well done.
We got it. We got it. So, and congratulations. I heard you just won a few awards. Tell us about your awards.
Thank you very much. I was presenting yesterday, actually, a journaling class to teachers from pre-K3 all the way to high school English. And when the conference was over, I received word from Amazon that I was #1 in a couple of subcategories with my picture book. So it was a great way to end my Friday and start my weekend, really.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations. I think,
Thank
the
you.
message probably really resonates with people. I feel like sometimes we lose hope for the future, and it's so nice when we are able to, make positive impacts with children and help them with character development. I think that's something that we really love to do at our after school program. So tell us a little bit about your book. You're an author, as you said, award winning. Your book is called Stand Out, Stand Out. Show
Yeah,
us the
so the
book.
concept, the
Yeah.
framework I've developed is actually called Stand Out, Stand Out. And this is the picture book right here that's been doing pretty well. It's got a global book award recently. It's got an international impact award recently and a couple of accolades now on Amazon. So it's crazy how such a simple book, it's only 35 pages long, and it is based on a song. So you can find the companion song and music lyric video on the internet as well that go along. It's really a multimodality way for kids and parents to connect and really talk about what they're good at, what they love to do. And with this, we can make some changes just by inspiring people by our passion, by what we do and what we love to do and what we're good at.
Yeah, so let's rewind way, way back. What inspired you to write the book? And then that focus on building self-esteem and encouraging kids.
Being in the classroom for as long as I have been, one of my favorite parts about being a teacher is the individuality of each one of my students. I've never had two that have been the same. And really that's kind of the reason why I keep doing it. If it was a rubber stamp model where everyone looked the same, acted the same, and was the same, how boring would that be? So the fact that they're all so unique and they all bring different personalities and talents and energies into the classroom is just, it's a joy for me. I love it.
As an educator, what do you think, or why do you think developing self-esteem in children is so important as part of their overall growth and success?
Confidence is everything, right? Confidence. If you feel confident in yourself, you can walk into a store, order whatever you want to, be in a restaurant, order off the menu. You can be who you are. So confidence is really everything. So then you can become who you're meant to be in every shape and form. So confidence is really, really important. That begins at an early age.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had a teacher, her name was Ann Sloan, and she was a teacher here in Warwick. I had her, so lucky. I had her in third grade, then I had her again in fifth grade. And I sometimes joke around and say, I have so much confidence. I don't know what came from. I have more confidence than one person should, as you know, when we met, right? I walked right up to you. I am not afraid of anything. And that definitely was instilled at a young age. And I can remember exactly where it came from. It really, obviously I had a great family and that too, but it was that teacher that really who stood by me and really helped me see who I was and use my voice, and I haven't shut up since. So yeah, I think it's important to plant those seeds and then nurture them.
And children are they're looking to adults for reinforcement. They're looking to see, is this the right thing I'm doing? Are we doing okay? So that feedback is really powerful. And in children, they get that automatically from their peers because kids are just great with one another. And when they get that positive feedback, really authentic feedback, none of this fake stuff, because kids can see through that. But when it's authentic and they're really valued, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, so you talk a little bit in your book about striving for excellence. What does that mean when we're talking about working with kids?
As simple as we can make it, just doing the best you can in everything you do. I always told my boys growing up, the little is the same as the big. How you approach the little things is how we should approach the big things too. And people will judge us, based on what they observe through our actions. So if they see us kind of keeping our space clean, picking up after ourselves, complimenting other people, these are small things that we can do very quickly, but it really kind of builds this resume, if you will, of behaviors and actions that speak louder than words.
Yes. I don't think you've listened. Have you listened to my podcast ever? I know we just met pretty recently. You haven't.
I have not.
So that's okay. At the end of every episode, this is how I end it, Scott. It's the little details that make a big impact on the success of a childcare business. And it is
So
that way
true.
with everything in life. It is that way. It is those little things. Why is it so important to help children develop this mindset early on?
Because it's the foundation. It's where they're beginning and everything will build on. Their decisions, their choices moving forward. Will I move forward with confidence? Do I feel like I can be successful at this? And if I fail, is that going to be okay too? All of these shape who they will become. So it's setting that foundation for them to grow. And that's so important at a young age. By the time we get to high school and beyond in college, it's already established or not established. And that changes everything.
You know, this I think reframing too, even how we look at failure, I think is really important, because failure is the fertilizer for growth. And so I think when we work with children, we need to let them know, right? Just like they get that concept when they're riding a bike, right? We know we ride the bike, we have the training wheels. When we feel a little more confident, we take off those training wheels with the knowing that we could fall down and get hurt. But we get back up, we get on the bike, and we keep going till eventually we're done falling off the bike. So yeah, I think it's important that we also not only help children strive for excellence, but to let them know that part of that journey to get to excellence is going to require a lot of mistakes, a lot of times where we're not successful to where we want to be. So I think that's really important.
100%. That whole idea of failure, it's how we perceive the word failure. Do we look at that as a positive, or do we look at it as some sort of a prison which holds us back, like a straitjacket, if you will? When we look at the most successful people on this planet, they have just failed more times than we have. And with each failure, it is the next step to build on to become the next version of whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I love that quote. The most successful people have failed the most times.
Yep. Yeah, and you
this
keep failing until you succeed.
As well, Erica, which I love. His biggest fear for humanity was not that they would set a goal so high and not get there, striving to get there, but they would set this marker too low and achieve it, and then achieving mediocrity. I thought that's a brilliant way to put that.
Yeah, yeah. So, we're both teachers. When we think about how teachers can create a classroom environment that fosters self-confidence and sense of individuality, what are your best tips or techniques that you would share with those who are in the classroom?
To be themselves and to show who they are through their work, especially through creative work. When you're doing writing, for example, or some art projects, we all learn differently, and different people learn with different learning styles. Howard Gardner told us that with multiple intelligences. And I've always been a firm believer in looking at who has these different ways of learning, in the classroom, and then approaching education through their strengths, as opposed to trying to build up all of these weaknesses. Is it easier to swim upstream against that current, or do we jump in that stream and ride the current that we'll call talents and natural abilities? So in a classroom, if we're really, really paying attention to the strengths of our children and giving them the ability to ride that stream of their natural abilities and how they learn naturally, I think that's really important, A, to build their confidence, and B, for you to see what they're really capable of in that short period of time.
Yeah. I think when we're talking about children in middle school and high school, I think it's really hard for students right now. I would not want to be a child right now because I feel like there's a lot of pressure to conform with social media and all of those things. So how do we help those kids who are hitting puberty there? Is it a different approach? Do you have any words of wisdom for folks who work at those upper levels?
Yeah, so I think, humility is a big part of when we stand out, we're really just showing how we're excellent, right? And you're right, a lot of people don't want to stand out. They want to blend in. And Dr. Seuss has some words about that. But in any case, we can do it in a quiet way too, right? We can use our talents in a gentle, quiet way to help other people, to inspire other people. We don't have to go out with, real colorful clothing and, I don't know, whatever you want to do, but you don't have to be loud about it. We can be gentle and quiet about what we have. Again, bringing in that concept of humility and also just kind of self-confidence and pride in who you are and what you're doing. That's really good. I think people notice that strength, even from afar. It's there. People know when someone else is very good at something, right? But I think there's a way we can show those talents in a humble way.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the standout framework and how it encourages kids to take responsibility for their actions and make a positive difference.
So I was driving home from school one day and I was teaching down in Westerly, so I had an hour commute each way. And this framework just popped into my brain, so I had to put my blinker on. I had to turn over on the side of the road, 102 North, and right in front of this beautiful little corral fence of this farm. And I penned down what each one of these letters stood for, because it was important for me to have positive habits for each one of those letters. S, strive for excellence. T, take great care of yourself. A, always do what you say you'll do. N, notice and tell what others do well. D, do what's right. O, open up your mind. U, use your talents to do good things. And T, treat everything with respect and be kind. These are just basic habits that teachers, parents, grandparents, and even peers want others to have and possess. It's just common sense, basic humans being good humans to themselves and to others. It's basic stuff. But sometimes it gets kind of caught up in all the smog, underneath the tidal wave of technology, when things aren't really as they appear to be. It's very confusing for kids to see what's real and what's not.
Yeah. What do you think the role of self-awareness plays in helping children understand their impact on others in their community?
So being aware of who we are, really understanding who we are. And that takes a while. I'm not sure we all get that at the same time. Some of us become aware of strengths and personal qualities later on. Some people I have kids in my classroom who are 10, but they act like they're 35. Old souls, if you want to call it that, but just they're very mature, they're very wise for their age. And you have other kids who are just kids. So everyone kind of develops on their own unique trajectory. And when it happens, it happens. But being aware of who you are, what strengths you bring into a different situation is really important, both for yourself and for the people who you're around. And I think the quicker we find out what that is and what those are, the better we can be with our friends, with our families, and with our coworkers, colleagues, and ourselves. Really. It's just self-awareness. And the distraction of technology kind of makes that learning curve much more difficult and much longer. The journaling I'm doing right now with my students is all about really self-discovery, self-awareness, and just really paying attention to these positive quotes and, what it means to them. And through kind of this journaling activity that we try to do 3, 4, 5 days a week, they're starting to notice patterns. Oh, I really think this way, or I really believe in this, or this feels right to me, or what have you. But that's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah. I think too, these tips and strategies that you're giving, I know that we're talking in the lens of, building children, but these are, like you said, just things that really just help you be a good human being, no matter what age that you're at. So let's talk a little bit we talked about kids who really truly know who they are. What about the children that struggle with either self-doubt or negative self-talk? Because we've all encountered those children too. How can we help children overcome that negative feelings about themselves?
So 2 things come to mind when you ask that question. Number 1 is gratitude, and number 2 is perfectionism. So the whole idea of gratitude, if we can find what to be happy for in these small moments of these small things, the power of gratitude, I'm learning more and more about it now at my age. It's like, whoa, this is amazing when we start to really think about how lucky we are with the small things, realizing the big things don't really mean as much as maybe once we thought they did. So I think just being grateful and paying attention to the small blessings, we can call them, the small things that we have in our life to be thankful for, I think that makes a real big difference for kids in this category. And this concept of perfectionism, I'm guilty as charged. I see it in some of my students too, and I try to help them because I'm still working on that right now. What is good enough and what is great and what is perfection? There's a fine line between driving yourself insane, chasing after the horizon line that you'll never get to, and having a product which is or a piece of work or whatever, job, which you've done really, really, really well at. So for these kids who really struggle with this perfectionist complex, they need an escape. They need someone to say, this is tremendous. This is really good. Let's celebrate this, and we're going to move on. My book, I could have gone for 10 years on that book, Erica, and just kept finding minor detail changes. Drive yourself insane. When is enough is enough? And if we can develop that with kids and let them know, have an awareness that excellence is different from perfection. And excellence is great.
Yeah. That's
outcomes from that.
Yeah, that was a great way to break that down. Building self esteem is a lifelong process, right? So, what strategies do you recommend for teachers and childcare directors to reinforce a child's sense of self worth consistently over time?
So a lot of that's going to come from ourselves, right? Not looking for the outside recognition or the outside praise, but knowing that we're enough. Looking in the mirror and saying, "This is who I am. I'm good enough the way I am right now. In fact, I'm great the way I am right now." Really getting to that point and not relying on other people to give you, I love this or I love that. I don't like that. I don't like it. Really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If someone told me not to write this book, I'd be like, cool, all right. Respect that, but I'm writing it. I don't care what you think. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, it comes to, I think, just being at peace, with what you're doing and who you are, which can be hard. It can be hard. That comes with that self-awareness.
Yeah, I'd like to just, I guess I'll share this. Words are powerful. And so many, many times, and my staff can attest to this, I will say words to children like, wow, you must be proud of yourself. Or, wow, you worked so hard on that. I bet, how do you feel? Do you feel amazing look at all that work you put in, right? Instead of, I'm proud of you, I will turn it around and say, you must be so proud of yourself. Because it starts to help them have that mindset of, you know what? I can make the decision of whether I feel this is good or not, or that I put in all the work that I wanted to on this. So I think, watch your words, because sometimes, although we're very well-meaning, when we're saying, good job, I'm proud of you and all of that to, affirm, I think the language needs to change a little bit so that children can really start to see the power that they have in their own thoughts.
We can turn it around too. Like, what do you think, Mr. Jablonski? Well, what do you think? What do you think? Mm-hmm. What do you think about what you're turning in right now? What do you think about the job you just did? I think it's awesome. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And I think that probably comes from your experience as a coach, because when I coach teachers, I work with many teachers, a lot of times they'll come to me and they'll ask me, how should I handle it? I'm like, exactly that. Well, what do you think? You know yourself better. You know your skills, your capabilities, what you're comfortable with, what you're not. I'll be there to cheer you on, but really, ultimately, the decisions are inside of you, and you uncover a lot of those things.
Right. And also, how about praising the effort? How about praising how much work did you put into that? How hard did you work? How do you feel about the effort you put into that? There's satisfaction in that.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it.
Yeah. Can you share a story where support that you have given kids has significantly impacted a child? Can you give us maybe somebody who said, I've got your book, I've been working on your book, or an educator? Just share a story.
When you work with a number of students and teachers and families, you're really working with communities all the time, right? And probably what really kind of stands out to me when you ask that question is we don't know what people are struggling with outside of, say, your classroom or outside the workplace, what have you. We don't know what they're bringing into that moment. We don't know, is there someone sick in their family? Are they being evicted from a property? We don't know what's going on. And sometimes what children have needed has just been someone just to listen to them, or someone just to be there for them, a source of stability. Maybe I'll say that. If everything else is kind of ablaze, they're looking for a source of just routine, something that we can rely on, something we can depend on. There's a quote which talks about when you look at people, you never know the battles they're fighting right now. That's true for all people, regardless of their age. So I think really being an observer and being a listener informs us in that moment to perhaps what's being needed, by that individual. And that's really true in all classrooms of all ages, just really paying attention to patterns. Because again, children will show you who they are and what they do and what they're up to. If something seems off, what they might need more than anything is just someone to say, everything okay? You all right? Can you help with anything? And I think that's probably more the case now than, say, 25, 30 years ago. Although it's always, we're human. It's always been.
Yeah. Let's switch over to something else, because I know you're into the arts and you sing and all that. So let's talk about that for a minute. So the arts have a powerful way of expressing emotions, building confidence. How do you believe music, because you paired this with music, how do you believe music, creativity, and storytelling can help children discover and embrace their uniqueness?
So all of this really, all the arts, all the creative things that we do, whether it's cooking, this creativity in the NBA, the way people play, this creativity in every single aspect of life. And you find the more creative people, actually, no matter if you're an engineer, an athlete, or an artist, creativity is there. How do we use that? But I watched a TED Talk at one point, and they were talking about a music program that was being developed. I believe it was down in South America. And they went into the impact of music on the brain. So when you're listening, for example, to music, there are parts of your brain that are impacted. When you're listening to music and you're playing it at the same time, there are more parts of your brain that are being impacted. When you're reading the notes of music, listening to what you're playing, holding the instrument and playing it, your brain is on fire. Literally, you are impacting every part of the brain. So the arts can do this. And the more we get all these different modalities in place, the more we're going to grow, the more we're going to be really kind of enlightened by that activity, whatever it may be.
Yeah. So for the child care directors who are listening, maybe they're wondering, like, how can they foster a more supportive environment for children where they feel safe to explore their talents and strive for excellence?
Well, I think a lot of modeling is really important. Like if we can model different things, like different talents, different skills, and different kids will gravitate towards different kinds of activities. Some are audio, some want to be listening, some people want to be visualizing, some people want to be tactile, they want to be building things. There's all these different approaches to learning and to what kids love to, and again, they will show that to you if you give them the chance to. With the journal that I've created recently, one of my aha moments was that the kids want to sketch. So Mr. Jablonski, we like to write and respond to the conversation we had about that positive quote. But we find that the sketching after we write is just super calming to us, and really it's just enjoyable. And can you imagine just learning for the enjoyment? I mean, we can't do that all day. Of course, we have a curriculum to cover, but for them to actually just take a break and just be able to really enjoy. Yesterday at a workshop that I did, I had adults in the classroom doing the same thing, and I found a bunch of them sketching, and they were just like, literally, they'd become kids again, just being able to explore and just have fun playing. I'm like, that is a gift to all. We all time down for that. All little kids love that. They'll show you.
Yeah, I love that. My programs are play-based programs, and I have infant through pre-K and then school age at another building, but we are definitely very play-based program. Yeah, sometimes when I'm having a stressful day, I'm like, I don't want to be in the office anymore. I go out and hang out with the kids, play with Play-Doh, we'll paint. Sometimes I'm like, hey, do you have lesson planning to do? Go. I'm going out in the play yard today with the kids. Really can recharge your spirit for sure. What do you think the connection between self-esteem and leadership is?
Well, when you're confident in your abilities, you feel absolutely natural to be able to lead, especially in that capacity. So if you're going to ask me to go lead a bunch of engineers right now, I wouldn't feel too confident in that. So if we are pursuing our passions and our talents and we're developing those, we're at a place further along than other people who are actually looking to you for leadership and for guidance and for modeling and what have you. So that confidence that develops over time with persistence, with failure, with practice can then be shared with others who are just a little bit behind you on that, who will benefit from that. So in that sense, you are a teacher, you're a role model, but you're a leader as well.
What's your ultimate hope for children who read your book and internalize the message of standing out?
So the reason why I actually have a song for my picture book, I have the images inside the book, I have a video that goes along with that, I have a framework, there are bookmarks. These are all different materials, all sending the same message to the children. I really want them to really absorb this whole concept of standing out, of being their best version. And by really giving this to them through different modalities, I really want them to really internalize that and discover that early. I didn't start doing a lot of things with my music and my writing until I was older. I didn't even enjoy reading until after college. Then I fell in love with reading when I had choice of book. That made a big difference. But if we can start to pay attention to those things, like I tell the story, Erica, all the time. I'd come home after elementary school and we had a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. We'd play kickball or football or street hockey or wiffle ball, always doing something athletic. I can remember playing, kickball in this little sandbank and just coming up with these little rhymes in my head, these little songs, these little ditties, and, just having fun playing with my friends, but also these things are coming in my brain. And I assumed at that time that everybody was coming up with songs in their heads during that kickball game and, didn't even think twice about it. But these are the types of things that are unique. And if you pay attention to, they are unique. They're different. Not everyone was doing, no one else was doing rhymes in their heads.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. So, but I didn't pay attention to that until later on, and understanding that was something that was special to me. Other kids probably had different things going on for them at that same time that maybe they weren't aware of either. But these things, they surface early on, and if we start to string together these patterns, then we can do something with it.
Yeah. What kind of difference do you believe that your book can make in the lives of children?
So I walked away from a publishing company a couple of years ago when I was trying to learn how the publishing actually works. And I was crossing over this bridge, over this river, and just this kind of image just kind of, shot through my head of a grandparent reading, with a grandchild. And I think it's all about sharing. So it's all about sharing. It's good. It's good for the older generation. It's good for the younger generation. We as humans are meant to be together, and we're meant to do things together. So everything that I create is meant to be shared. Really, it's not, you can do it alone if you want to, but I think it's better when shared, an experience that's shared with other people, especially the ones who love you and you love them.
Yeah. So is there anything, as we start to wrap up, is there anything that you'd love to share with the audience that I didn't ask you?
Where do we begin, Erica? I'm kidding. No, I just think we're in a real interesting age right now where we're just seeing more and more kids of younger ages doing amazing things. And I think that needs to be celebrated and shared, again, as role models for other kids as well. They've got to play, they've got to sleep, they've got to take care of themselves, they've got to be friendly, but they also already have wired inside them some gifts. And I think that as adults, if we're paying attention to these things that are quite unique and authentically explaining that to them, and A, if you love doing it, and B, you're really good at it, then why not marry those two and do something with it? And kids don't have fear like adults do, and they'll get after it. They'll get out and show it. They'll get out and share it. So I don't know. I just hope that more and more that we're just helping each other as human beings. We're being kinder to each other. We're being patient with each other. We're keeping our minds open, and we're supporting one another. We need each other. We can't be at each other's throats. We've got to come together as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful message. One of the things you had talked about the multiple intelligences and added extra vowels there, intelligence. But as educators, I think it's important too that we set up our learning environment so children can explore things that they maybe have never explored before too, so that they can then see what types of things they enjoy. Not all children have access to all things. And so it's really important that we're really intentional with the way that we set up our classrooms, and the curriculum allows them to try different things. I think that that's really, really important. So thank you so much. You were a wonderful guest. For those of you who are listening, we would love to invite you to come join me and Scott at the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference. He'll be there in our vendor area doing book signings, connecting with educators who would like to take this framework into their centers to empower children to stand out. And as always, it's the little details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
Thanks, Erica. Bye.
You're welcome.